Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Filipino Freethinkers podcast that's also a video. I'm Red.
Hi, I'm Ria.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're going to talk about something that Germaine Greer said that made a lot of transgender women and men very angry. Here's a link to that post. Read it, pause, and then come back to us. Welcome back. What's the most horrible thing that he
crazy.
said that you read that Germaine Greer
She
said?
said that Caitlyn Jenner was just jealous of the fame of her family, so she became a woman to get a little bit of that fame, that reality show fame that they were enjoying.
That was the emphasis. The women were outshining him, according to Greer. This is Greer speaking. Outshining him, and he wanted to outshine them. So he went through the trouble
transformation
of transforming into a woman, because of course Germaine Greer would never agree to calling Caitlyn Jenner a woman.
She also called Caitlyn Jenner a he/she, which is a
He/she.
he/she.
Oh yeah, that's
which is
very offensive.
pretty much a slur.
And very outdated term for...
Okay, what's the
Pretty updated,
what's the more recent slur against?
Oh my god!
'Cause
I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. All
That's
slurs,
just
I guess, are outdated.
Yes.
But okay, so she was invited to talk. She's still scheduled to speak at a university, and a number of students have, in the tradition of colleges and universities in the U.S., started a petition to disinvite her from that, and of course, and it's gotten several thousand signatures. There's a counter petition to let her speak.
Let her speak again.
And that's also gaining traction. So this is on the news. Let's talk about it. As a woman with a big hairy vagina.
Okay.
Because I'm quoting Germaine Greer. I'm not
Okay,
really talking about your
The
big
quote
hair.
is she's saying na, oh, trans women can't really be women because they don't have big smelly vaginas like
They haven't lived through the
they haven't
experience
lived through
of having
the
a
vagina
big
having
hairy vagina.
smelly, yeah.
Okay, so as someone who has that alleged big hairy, was the smelly part of it?
Might as well.
Are you adding the
Okay.
color? Okay, yeah, okay, might as well throw in smelly in there. Like as someone
It's
who
an
has that
enclosed
allegedly.
area.
What is your take on this?
I would say I really wouldn't know what Germaine Greer would be talking about and she probably wouldn't know what she would be talking about with respect to me, because I haven't lived through the experience of having a hairy Germaine Greer vagina.
Okay.
When it
Only
comes-
Germaine Greer.
Yeah, when
Has
it comes
that
to experience,
specific- Okay.
woman as a category is a blur. It's supposed to, if people want to partake of that experience, or to claim that,
Okay.
I don't think that she is the sole authority on that.
Okay. It reminds me of the standpoint theory where some feminists argue that male feminists can't
Okay.
fully appreciate the being a true feminist because they're not a woman. So they can't be a feminist in the same way that a woman is because they don't have that kind of standpoint. So for some people, woman is a physical thing. It's either you were born with a penis or you're not. For others, and this opinion is gaining traction now, and getting a lot of scientific support. It's an experience that you have in your brain. The issue is not yet settled for a lot of people, right? It is settled for a huge number of the transgender LGBT community, right?
community.
And they think that this should no longer be discussed in campuses. Like talks from people like Germaine Greer or even debates about the issue should no
Should not
longer
even be
happen.
a thing anymore.
Yeah, because we live in a society where we're progressive and we accept transgender women, like people like Caitlyn Jenner have been accepted by society. Why are we even talking about or letting people like Germaine Greer speak?
Okay, I think there's this conflation between the validity of their experience and about all the scientific talk about what happens in their brains. Whatever the science says, it doesn't invalidate the experience of these trans women.
Okay.
And whatever experiences they may have should not have an effect on the discourse when it comes to what is happening in our brains, because that's scientific. It shouldn't be affected by politics. Ideally, it shouldn't be affected by politics or by correctness.
Okay.
For political correctness, that is.
You mentioned that someone's experience in their brains shouldn't be affected by whatever science or politics tells you, right?
Yeah.
But does that oblige other
I mean,
people to?
Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
It's not that it shouldn't be affected by science or fact,
Yeah.
but that it shouldn't be invalidated by that.
By,
So your
like,
own
the
personal
current-
experience is the most valid.
That's not really what I was going for. But
Okay.
what I was going for was that it is valid data within its context.
Okay.
The fact that people experience this means that it's a valid area of study, and it's something that must be taken into account.
Yeah, definitely.
And not just like MRI scans or whatever it is that people think is scientific and not scientific.
Okay. Like certainly, like I see some activity on this MRI scan.
Yeah.
You know, this red patch here, but the person who is experiencing it, you know, it's very philosophical. I have the most authority on what I actually experience, and I fully agree with that. Like whatever you want to identify as, especially to yourself, that's the most important. But what I want to discuss now is, are other people obliged to agree with your self-identification?
No, not at
So-
all.
Not at
I
all.
mean-
So if Caitlyn Jenner says she's a woman, it obliges no one to agree with that. They can still think that she's a man. It's still well within their.
No.
Yeah.
What I mean by not by other people not required to take someone's word for it.
Yeah.
With regards to experience, is that a person's narrative of their experience is data, whether we take it
okay.
it as truth or as I don't know, even a little bit
So
of
so you
perception or-
report it. You know, you put it in the
You file
paper.
it.
You measure that as well,
Yeah.
whether the people identify.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. But moving on, do you think that how much do you think other people are obligated to agree with someone's self-identification? Because the status quo now is more people. I imagine that on this area especially, the people who are as progressive as the people who accept Caitlyn Jenner as fully a woman are in the minority. I assume that her coming out was her celebrity, all of the fanfare surrounding that pushed a lot of people off the fence into that progressive side. But I
Also,
imagine majority are still very conservative about this. So for them, the default is still, if you were born with a penis, you're a man. If you're, born with a vagina, and so on. So, do you think that other people are, have that obligation to be progressive and accept Caitlyn Jenner as a woman because she identifies as one?
That obligation.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not really sure
that it's called an obligation.
that it's if that's the correct term for it.
So yeah,
I guess it's like just being polite, or it's a kindness.
It's a
thing
kindness. It's a kindness. So they're not.
that you can do. It doesn't
Yeah.
affect you to put an S in front of the word
Yeah.
he.
Okay.
It's
What do
more
you
of
think?
respect for an individual's right to determine
How they
they present themselves to other people.
Yeah.
So it's more of that. I think that it's sorry, I'm operating from a different perspective here because
Okay.
I was stuck in the science and fact and blah 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 blah.
Okay.
And although it's not that I don't think that science and fact must be in a separate sphere as granting individuals their rights.
Okay.
I'm just saying that as of this moment, when we conflate science and ethics and politics, these spheres of thought are like this. They're very far away. They're not touching. They're not touching yet. We're not at that juncture where they can touch it. I wouldn't know. I'm not an expert in ethics.
I think they definitely do. Like
Okay.
I'm sure that the people who perform the studies have biases one way or the other.
Okay, they do.
And you know how it's an invisible force that influences them however much they try not to.
But in
So-
terms of codifying what is
Yeah.
ethical, what is good and what does the least harm from a utilitarian perspective, of course, I don't think they're touching yet. At least in this issue.
Oh yeah, like should science be ethical even? Like if
Have
it should it have ethical
have a
goals?
say.
Like you know, but I think this is where the politics, where the semantics comes in. Like how do we determine what who we classify as a woman and who we classify as a man? Like I said earlier, some people think it's very physical, anatomical. Either you have the part or not, and there's not much debate on that. Or should it be something that's on a brain thing? But even there, we're already shifting towards an anatomical argument because we're measuring whether it's similar. You know, they have the same number of neurons, whether the
Yeah.
structure is similar, and so on. Even that is anatomical. Or should we make it more
Sure, it's like
experiential? You know, or more personal. What a woman is someone who experiences
Has-
life as a woman. You know, who thinks of herself as a woman.
Presents.
That's the more progressive
Yeah.
take
That
on
is
things, right? Of course, the more conservative is anatomical,
Yeah.
which is why I think people are trying to move to convince others with an anatomical argument. Look at these brains, you know, they're similar and therefore they
Yeah,
should be the
yeah.
same.
I can see that.
Yeah.
How that's using that same anatomical argument to say that they're the same as who they think they are.
But when it comes to harm, and this is very important to me, a lot of transgender individuals are indeed depressed. They do commit
Yeah.
suicide. They're in poverty, and this is just another minority stressor that you add to them when you don't allow them to
Yeah.
identify. And I would respect their right to identify, and I would call them she. I would use those pronouns because it doesn't really damage me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, as with
if
every
it's-
individual,
Yeah.
I think the thing is, the people who are forwarding this anatomical argument, they're generalizing it towards this dichotomy between man and woman that we know isn't really scientifically
binary.
it's not really so binary. Even before before this was a talking point, it was never really that binary. I guess what I wish these people would see is that for me the better way would be to generalize this in terms of individual rights. For rights,
A
for the right
rights-based approach
of an individual to determine how they interact with the world and how they view
The
themselves.
right to self-identification.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a better since we're talking about experiences
Okay.
and humans which haven't been really classified or categorized yet. I mean, I don't know if there will ever be a time where we could progress to that point where we could know all the nuances of the human experience.
Yeah.
But since we haven't done that yet, I think this is the better way to
The
generalize
best way to go about it
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
So,
That actually reminds me of, this is a little bit of a tangent, but that actually reminds me of this story that I heard about this guy was in the military, he had a wife and everything, but then he suddenly, it was like a bad case of, I guess, gender dysphoria.
okay.
Because suddenly, one day he woke up and he felt gross about his body because he felt that he was a woman, and then finding body hair, which is very unfeminine. And then, so he would flip between genders, actually.
Okay.
He would wake up and feel like a woman. And according to the interview, he would actually he would have a different body language and different voice. And then he would flip again. So this is probably one of the only cases, he's very, very unique. And so
Only documented one. I'm sure
So
out
far,
of the billions
probably.
of people,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
probably someone who's like him, if not,
yeah.
even worse. It could be. It's just not documented. So these things are indeed
So what
very
you said
probable.
about your personal experiences and that not really connecting to the established academic thoughts on the matter.
Yeah.
Okay, but for for the people who are watching that person. You know, they can say, "Oh, I'm seeing him," and some people would say,
He's flipping.
he's a man who thinks he's a woman one day and thinks he's a man the next day."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's how the other person perceives him. The person who's experiencing it thinks, "No, I'm actually a woman now."
Feels,
Yeah, and it's not just I'm imagining things. Yeah.
like he really feels it. He gets so disgusted by his super manly body.
So these are words, of course, you know, man, woman, gender, and stuff like that. These are constructs. The situation in any place or in any time can change, right? But it's not an objective thing. You know, like you can't. There's no objective answer. Like this is
gender.
for sure. Like the people who invented the idea of man and woman, they didn't have the ideas of these brains having the
Yeah.
possibility of experiencing the opposite
The
sex.
the other
Right,
side.
the opposite experience. They didn't have this, so they made the construct of man-woman back then without the science that supports the alternative that we have now, right? So what these the transgender community is asking is, can we update that semantic system to be more in line with the
what's
emerging
happening.
science?
Uh-huh.
And others are saying, no, like use the word that we have for you. Transgender woman, I'll call you that. You know, it has woman, be happy with that already. Others are saying, no, I want
To be
just woman.
known as a woman.
Like I think this is one thing that science cannot settle. It will be a very political thing. And debates will need to happen.
Yeah.
Dialogue will need to happen. And shutting people up is definitely not the way to go. Like if I were a transgender activist and I wanted to convince my opponent or the majority of people who aren't on my side yet, like one way to do it is one way that's wrong, I think, is to say that this matter is already settled. And we
Shut
shouldn't
up and
even
go home.
shut up, go home, don't let people like Germaine Greer talk. You know, I mean, Germaine Greer sounds really mean the way she argues, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would want that. Like let that person
Let
talk.
her talk.
And let
Let her
her
keep talking.
shoot herself with the words that she says. I mean, if we get a better speaker, a calmer, more reasonable sounding person, then we might win that
That debate.
debate. But if
But
you know, if you
as
don't
it
want to
is-
have the debate, what will the other people think? They will think things like, they had,
Censorship.
censorship.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're afraid of losing. You know, they don't want us to hear, they're just shutting us up and so on. So I'm on the side of letting people identify as whatever makes them happier.
happy.
Right?
Happier.
But we need to argue that. That's not an automatic conclusion. So I'm pro free speech and I'm pro transgender rights as well. And of course, you can also fall on whatever side of that. But it's something that we need to talk about. Thank you everyone for watching this episode. If you have questions or comments, do send them in. And if they're not stupid, we will address them. And to the thousands of viewers and the millions who don't register on the view count on YouTube, thank you very much and see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
You might get a cookie. Don't hold us to that.